Hi, my name is Isabel. I'm a clinical nutritionist and I'll be taking you through all the courses. We're going to start off with how to begin a carnivore diet. So I'll be sharing a few of my personal experiences and how to, what to eat and just how to start. So basically you can eat anything that comes from an animal and you can choose whichever animal you would like to eat. Most carnivores are eating ruminant meats, meaning beef, lamb, venison, sheep. They are the most nutritious, but you can also have pork and chicken and seafood as well. I eat mainly beef. That's kind of my base, and then I just add things in when I get sick of beef. Everyone has a different metabolic health, okay? We all come from different health backgrounds. So, you just do your own journey and just do what feels good for you, okay? Some people thrive off beef, some people just do steaks, some do mince, some eat more pork, whatever, okay? You just do whatever feels good for you. And how much to eat. There are no rules, so you can eat as much as you want. You should be eating as much as you want. There are no portion controls. You're not counting any protein or fat. You're not measuring anything, okay? Back in the day when we were living in caves, when we came in, we didn't have any apps or anything to tell us how much to eat and when to eat. So when you're hungry, you should eat. When you're full, you should stop. So just try and be mindful when you eat, chew and eat slowly. And try to drink your water away from your meals. You can have some water, of course, but try to drink the majority of your water in between meals, so we're not disrupting the stomach acids and all the digestive juices and fluids that come in to help break down the food that you're eating. And I also found that as I was going longer and longer into carnivore, my hunger signals changed. So in the beginning, I was kind of like feeling really hungry. And then a couple of months in, I wasn't feeling that hungry anymore. So that's normal. You might not be as hungry once you kind of fed your body what it needs, but also your hunger signals change. So what I mean by that is you might not feel this intense hunger, where you get hangry and grumpy. You might just go a whole day and realize that you skipped a meal or whatever, or thought, oh, maybe I should eat something, but you're not hungry. So a way to test that is to just eat something. So have an egg or have some mince, have a steak. If it tastes good, then you're probably hungry and you can eat and you should eat. If it doesn't taste nice, then just leave it and try again later. And if it tastes good, you can eat. If you have excess body fat to lose and, you're not hungry, but you're feeling good, then there is no harm in not eating until you are hungry, because your body will actually access your excess fat stores and use that for energy. So just eat when you're hungry. I try to keep my fat and protein to a 1-to-1 ratio. Not always, but a good way to know if you're eating enough fat is, if you feel good, if you have energy. Another way is to go by your stools. So if you are going to the toilet and your stools are nicely formed, you're not having any issues passing your stool, then that's good. You're eating enough fat. So fat lubricates the colon and help things move along. If you're having hard, dry stools, like little pellets, and you need to kind of push and work to get the stool out, that's a sign of that you're eating too little fat. So you should up your fats. I would recommend increasing your fats from butter and beef, like fatty meats, rather than cream and cheese, because those types of food can actually be causing constipation. So you don't want to overeat those foods. Butter is fine though, if you can handle that. Some people also do ghee, that's fine. How often should you eat? Like I said, just eat whenever you're hungry. It doesn't matter. I tend to eat most of my food towards the end of the day. Unless I'm really starving, then I'll, eat, because that's my body telling me that, hey, we need some food. Some people just eat smaller meals throughout the day. And of course, if you're like me, if you're breastfeeding, you might just eat anyway because you want to keep your milk up. I don't fast intentionally. Sometimes it happens that I go a period of time without eating because I'm not hungry. And it's not affecting me in any bad ways, and that's fine. But I don't set a time limit for fasting because I am breastfeeding. But you do whatever works for you. There's no counting fat or protein or macros. Like I said, just eat when you're hungry. So you're eating meat, salt and water, eggs and dairy. So your things not to eat, basically everything else. So no plants, no processed foods, no alcohol. Coffee is not carnivore. I still have coffee at the moment. Just do what works for you. No sweeteners, no alcohol, nothing. So anything that comes from an animal is completely fine and you can eat however much you want. So depending on where you're coming from, and the state of your health, you might want to dive right into carnivore and just eat what I just said, or you might want to have a slower transition. So that's up to you. If you want to transition, I would still eat mostly like meat-based, and then you can keep whatever it is that you want to keep. So if it's some low-carb fruits or some low-carb vegetables. So that's kind of more of a keto way, which is fine. Just give your body time to adapt, and then you can slowly phase out those foods. This is a 30-day carnivore challenge. So if you can, and if you feel good, then you just do the meat, salt, and water, and the eggs and the dairy, like I mentioned. But you can go however strict that you want. You don't need fruits and vegetables, so you choose. And spices, so only salt, because in salt there are minerals that our body needs. All the other spices, non-essential, and basically we're just using them because they taste nice, because but actually they can cause digestive issues. So I would just go with salt. In the beginning when you start, so we're talking about fat, and like I said, depending on your stools, that's how you can see if you're eating enough fat or too little fat. If you're having diarrhea when you're starting, and you're not drinking any coffee, and you're not having alcohol, and you're not using any sweeteners, then it might be a sign, it's probably a sign that you're having too much fat. So what you want to do is you want to cut back on the fat until you stop having loose stool. And the reason why that happens is because your body is not used to eating that amount of fat. So it's not releasing and producing enough bile at the moment, but it will catch up, and it will make more bile, and it will excrete more bile when you eat the fat. So you get better at digesting it, and you will absorb more. So basically what happens is you're eating a lot of fat, like a fatty meal, your body excretes bile, it comes from your liver, goes into your gallbladder, and comes out to emulsify fat. And then it can only release a certain amount. And then whatever fat is not emulsified and absorbed will just go out the other end, and resulting in loose stool. So don't worry about eating too much fat. Okay, fat is healthy, we need fat, and you're not going to overeat fat. If you don't have a gallbladder, then you can eat smaller meals, so smaller fatty meals more frequently, to give your body a chance again to adapt. Yeah, so like I said, don't limit yourself. You don't go on carnivore. You might go on carnivore to lose weight, and that's okay. And you most likely will lose weight if you have weight to lose, but don't restrict yourself. So if you're hungry, you should eat. And like I mentioned, the optimal meats, eat whatever you can afford. So it doesn't have to be grass-fed. It doesn't have to be the best of the best. If you can afford that, great. If you can afford that sometimes, like we do a bit of a mix. We can't always have grass-fed, but we do, if we can, 1 month, that's great. The next, if we can't, that's okay. It's still going to be really, really nutritious for you. Like I said, mainly beef and lamb for us. I have chicken sometimes when I get sick of steak. Yes. Now, when you go on a carnivore diet, it's no carbs. So when we eat carbohydrates, our body retain more water. I think carbohydrates, binds to about 4 times more fluid than protein and fat. So when you eat carbohydrates, you retain more fluid. When you stop eating carbs, your body will excrete, so you will pee out, sweat out the excess water that you do not need, and that's normal. And with water comes minerals. So if you're sweating and you're peeing a lot, your salts are going to go with the water. So you want to keep up your electrolytes. You can do that a couple of different ways. So I was doing a slower transition. So I was still having some fruits and vegetables, which will have a bit of electrolytes in there. Some people buy electrolyte supplements. Some people just add extra salt. I'll put in what salt I use. There are many different ones, but you want to have a high quality salt without microplastics, and you want to salt to taste. So when you eat your food, when you eat your steak, put on the salt until it tastes nice and have that. You can put a little bit of salt in your water if you want to, but you don't want to overdo it. So if you're feeling tired and sluggish, maybe as you begin this type of eating, it could be a good alternative to just have some electrolytes. But as you go further and further into carnivore, your body will adapt, and your body will get better at retaining electrolytes and salts. So that sorts itself out eventually. Water, aim for 2 to 3 liters, depending on how active you are. If you're really active, if you're exercising a lot, you need to make sure you drink enough water, and you need to make sure that you're having your electrolytes. Hydrate before caffeinate. So if you choose to have coffee, that's up to you. Just make sure maybe before you have a coffee, have a glass of water. Of course, like I said, there's no alcohol. If you choose to drink alcohol, I would just have, water and vodka, basically. It's not going to be good for you, but at least it's not going to have as many toxins as other drinks, and it's not going to have the excess sugar. We're not cooking with any vegetable oils. We're not using anything else, okay? So just what comes from an animal. I use butter and tallow to cook my foods in. You can use lard, which is fat from a pig, bacon grease, and yes, so like I said, eat whatever meat that you can afford. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's about creating healthy habits. A heavily meat-based diet is healthy. And don't forget about eggs, okay? Eggs can be really affordable, and you can get good quality eggs just by going to your local farmer's market. Another thing that we do in my family is we actually got an extra freezer to put outside, and we bulk buy grass-fed meats, so rump. We also bulk buy meat that isn't grass-fed, but that saves us a lot of money. So that's something to consider. Some people buy like a whole cow or a half a cow, or you can split with your friend. When you're starting, you don't want to have a lot of like processed foods laying around. So depending on your living situation, try and just get rid of all that. Put it away, give it away, clean out your cupboard, clean out your fridge, and stock up on meat and eggs and butter. So be prepared. You don't want to wake up and be hungry and not have any meat at home, and then go for like toast. So set yourself up to succeed. Some people choose to eat organ meats. So I don't really like organ meats that much. Sometimes I have liver pate, that's fine. Or some liver in mince and sausages. The main reason why I would eat that is because I'm breastfeeding. So liver is very, very nutritious. Organ meats overall are very nutrient dense, but you can overdo it. So there's something called hypervitaminosis, where you can get sick. You can get vitamin A toxicity because you're eating too much. Vitamin A is a fat-soluble vitamin, meaning all fat-soluble vitamins can get stored in your body. So if you're eating too much of one, it becomes toxic. So if you choose to eat organs, I would only have a small amount. I do it daily. So I eat frozen raw liver, that much, like a little pill, and that's all. If you like eating them, do it, but don't overdo it. So I think a liver from a cow weighs about 8 kilos. And, however much muscle meat you get is about, I don't know, like 200-300 kilos maybe. So when we were living in caves, when we were hunting, we take down a big animal, and then you would only get that one liver for your whole tribe. So you wouldn't eat like 200 grams of liver every single day because you just couldn't, you didn't have it. So our bodies haven't, I think, have not evolved to rely heavily on organ meats. We probably had some, but not every day and not in large amounts. You can also do the pills, like the dried liver, the desiccated pills. Some do. We do that as well. That's fine if you want to, but you don't have to. You don't need to take supplements. I don't buy any synthetic supplements. I don't use supplements. I use bone meal, which is ground up bones for extra calcium. Again, for breastfeeding, I've had 2 kids, so I kind of need to nourish myself, and my liver, and I think that's about it. Affordable meats, so you can buy like less good cuts. It doesn't mean that they won't taste nice. It just means you're going to have to probably slow cook them, and it's going to taste amazing. And they're usually cheap. So that's another way that you can make it affordable. So include bone broth, bone marrow, tallow, and I buy bone marrow that I roast, and I eat the marrow for me and my baby, and then I save the bones to make my own bone broth. So any bones you have, you can just save in a bag in the freezer. Doesn't matter what animal, all animals. And then when you're ready, you just put them in a pot and you make your own broth. If you eat something outside of carnivore, which happens for everyone, that's fine. Just enjoy it and then move on. Okay, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to stop carnivore. You just keep going. Maybe you will. I did that. So I had some calamari once after doing carnivore for months, and then I had like migraine the next day and bloating and gas, and I just didn't feel great. And that was from the calamari. So I haven't had that again because I don't want to feel like that. And just because you're eating carnivore now and you're doing this challenge, it doesn't mean that you have to eat carnivore for the rest of your life. Okay, you can still bring back food some foods into your diet that you like. But hopefully the base, the foundation of your diet will be meat and salt and water and eggs. And then you just have, little extras to kind of, because it tastes nice or whatever. But you're not having to force feed yourself vegetables. You don't have to hide vegetables into your kids' diet anymore. You don't have to feel bad about your kids not eating the broccoli and the kale. I don't.